Again, I see for everybody, good evening, trustees. Thanks for joining us. We are now live streaming on YouTube, so we are on the record. Just wanted to be sure everybody knew.
Hi, everyone. Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening. Good, thank you.
So for those who can't yet see her, Somalia Hogan, this is our newest appointed member of the Board of Trustees, everyone.
Does this have mushrooms?
Yes.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
And I think we're just still a bit short, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I was just counting.
Okay.
Betty, we're missing Vicky. Some more entering. Okay, there comes Betty. Janae is not attending and Alexander is not attending.
Okay.
Yep, with 7, you do have a quorum, just so you know.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
Great. So let's call to order the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees regular meeting of Monday, June 28th, 2021. Nanette, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mary Kate Murin.
Present.
Janae McDonald. Betty Esposito. Betty? I know I am. Alexander Anderson. Maurice Lindsay.
Present.
Vicky Krause. Somalia Hogan.
Present.
Thank you. Bill Johnson.
Present.
Jeff Sattler.
Present.
And Max Starks.
Present.
Thank you.
Great. Betty, we see you. We just can't hear you.
Yeah,
I am here.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Do I hear approval, motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting that was on May 24th, 2021?
Bill Johnson here. I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 24th as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Madam Chair,
Thanks.
small point of order. We did get a request for a modest edit, everyone. Nanette, do you have that in front of you? We could read that for the trustees.
Yes, let me get it here. Yes, Mary Wiseman from the CODL. She asked to edit. In March of 2020, the center had a full weekend to work elbow to elbow with faculty and it follows, and she is revising it to, and actually it should read, in March of 2020, the center had a weekend to prepare for a week-long workshops held in person, elbow to elbow from March 16th to the 20th, 2020.
So again, a small edit. If you don't think it's substantive, we can just make that edit as part of your approval, or if you want to revise the motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll amend my motion to approve the edit as presented.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Great. So Nina, let's call the vote to accept the amended regular meeting minutes of Monday, May 24th, 2021.
Yes, thank you. Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald, Elizabeth Esposito,
Yes.
Alexander Anderson, Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Vicky Krause, Somalia Hogan,
Abstain?
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So let's transition right into our committee reports. We had Ways and Means on June 14th, 2021. Trustee Starks.
Yes, Madam Chair. So we started with our fiscal year 2021 financial review and our cash flow projection. So the college currently has approximately $7.7 million available at TD Bank. The projection through the end of June is more favorable than was last presented due to state appropriations now funding expenses versus STCC funds. Finance will bring forward a recommendation of how the college may be able to take advantage of the healthy cash balance to the August investment subcommittee meeting. We then move from there into our fiscal year 2021 revenue and spending report through May 2021. Net operating income is projected to be $3.4 million at year end, excluding new COVID funds. Additionally, projected for fiscal year 21 is recognition of HERF COVID relief funds of up to $7 million, which could bring the total operating income to $10.4 million from the 3.4 I just mentioned. We then move to our federal COVID relief funding update, where the college continues to have discussions with the auditors regarding the potential uses of HER funds, as well as the calculations that are being used. We then went into a discussion around our fiscal year 2021 facilities project report. Essentially, to date, $1.4 million has been spent, and facilities expects to spend approximately $2 million for the fiscal year. We then went to our president's perspective, which I'm sure Dr. Cook will get into a little later. And we moved into our enrollment update and budget impact. And right now, the summer and fall enrollment are trending lower than the last 2 years. The net financial impact relative to the trustee approved fiscal year 2022 budget showed an unfavorable impact of $2.1 million, assuming a 25% decline in fall enrollment and a 20% decline in spring enrollment. Again, there were some ranges that were given. Again, all assumptions, we'll see how it plays out, but it was good to kind of see some of the impacts based on scenarios. And then we finished up with our old business, and CFO Nathanson informed the committee that she will be meeting with Trustee Sadler in July to review the capital projects. And she will also update the September Ways and Means Committee meeting with that update. She also informed us that she and the committee, the finance team will work in the coming months to enhance the financial reporting, and will update the committee also at the September Ways and Means Committee meeting. Meeting was then adjourned, and our next meeting is on September 13th, 2021.
Great. Thank you so much, Trustee Starks. Do I hear a motion to accept the meeting minutes of Committee on Ways and Means of June 14th, 2021?
Motion to accept. Jeff Sattler.
Bill Johnson, second.
Discussion. Hearing none, Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept the meeting minutes of Committee on Ways and Means of June 14th, 2021, please?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald, Elizabeth Esposito,
Yes.
Alexander Anderson, Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Vicky Krause,
Yes.
Somalia Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And we had a quick audit committee meeting on June 24th, 2021. Trustee Starks, once again.
Yes, Madam Chair. We had a very quick single audit committee meeting, and actually it was pretty interesting. But Lisa DeGusto, the manager of O'Connor and Drew PC, reviewed the fiscal year 2020 single audit as required by the Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for federal funds. 3 major programs were audited: student finance, financial assistance, career and technical education grant, and the HERF funding. There was one finding identified during the audit regarding an instance of non-compliance in reporting a status change to the National Student Loan Data System. Ms. DeGusto indicated that this is a common finding, and STCC's status change reporting is not an issue. I think the actual numbers was this one finding out of 42, which is clearly not a systemic issue. Trustee Murin then moved that the STCC Board of Trustees Audit Committee, pursuant to the provision of Section 22, Chapter 15A, recommend to the Board of Trustees the approval of the fiscal year 2020 single audit as presented. The motion was approved unanimously.
Great, thank you so much. So just clarifying, Dr. I don't think we have to accept those meetings. We go right into the motion, correct?
Madam Chairman, I got one small question. This is Bill Johnson.
Okay.
I see there's an increase in the Pell funding because of the HERF funding. What is HERF funding? What does that acronym stand for? HEERF.
That's really the umbrella for all of the federal dollars that we've got. So CARES was the first installment, that what we call CARISA, that's the coronavirus assistance. And then the third one, and I'm looking at Andrea, our CFO, to keep me honest here, the third iteration is ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. Andrea, is it fair to say all of that would be considered HERF?
Yes, it is. It's all the federal COVID relief funding.
So HERF is this mystical, magical government program that we don't know what it stands for, but that's where all the funding comes from under that umbrella.
It does, and I think that HERF stands for, I think higher ed relief funding, I think is what the acronym represents. No, it's a good question.
I don't need to know now. I'm just curious. I guess when money rains from an umbrella, you don't ask, but you know, I was just curious. All right. If you could find that out at a later date, I'd appreciate it.
It stands for Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund.
Wow, Higher Education Emergency. Thank you.
You're welcome.
New trustee Artie, right on it, everybody.
Thank you very much.
To your question, Madam Chair, I think just as a precaution, if you do garner a vote of endorsement from the trustees, that helps us in case it comes up later about whether this revision to the audit was approved by the board.
Right. So do I hear a motion to accept the audit committee report, the single audit of June 24th, 2021?
Madam Chairman, Bill Johnson, I was the one that caused all the uproar here. I'll make a motion to approve the June 24th report.
And I'll second it.
Great. Discussion. Hearing none. Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept the single audit committee report of June 24th, please?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald, Elizabeth Esposito,
Yes.
Alexander Anderson, Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Vicky Krause,
Yes.
Somalia Hogan,
Yes.
Phil Johnson,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. So we accepted the meeting minutes, and now do I hear, would someone like to read the motion for the FY 2020 single audit?
It's Betty. I'll read it.
Okay, go ahead.
A motion move that the Springfield Technical Community College Board of Trustees, pursuant to the provision of Section 22, Chapter 15A, approves of the fiscal year 2020 single audit as presented, and it is attached.
Do I hear a second?
Bill Johnson, second.
Discussion. Hearing none, Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept the motion, the FY 2020 single audit, please?
Yes, Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald, Elizabeth Posito,
Yes.
Alexander Anderson, Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Vicky Kraus,
Yes.
Somalia Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Great. Thank you so much. So we're going into new business with our introductions.
A great pleasure, everyone, to introduce two new colleagues for all of you, two new trustees. So Alessandra Anderson, who steps off as the student trustee. And it was great. We had Alessandra as part of the on-campus contingent when we did the parade in early June. She herself was graduating, and pretty thrilling for all of us. So our great thanks to her. Stepping into the role, duly elected by her peers, her class, is Monique Sheldon Riley, who I know we have here. Monique, welcome. I don't know if you would want to share a little bit about yourself with fellow trustees, but looking forward to having you join us truly starting in September when we kick things off.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys. So this was a position that I really knew nothing about, and I still know very little about. So I'm sure I'll be calling on a lot of you guys for like assistance and guidance. I really wanted to get more involved in student advocacy and just, helping from that end. And this was presented to me as an opportunity that I could potentially grow in and things like that and learn a lot. So I'm really looking forward to everything. So thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
If you'll let me brag a little bit, Monique is a particular type of community college student. She already has a bachelor's and a master's, everyone. So she is here taking, I believe, some healthcare courses and some science courses. And so we're thrilled to have her professionalism, her talents, her skills right here in this role of student trustee. Monique, I couldn't help but share.
Thank you.
All right, we'll keep it going. So also joining us is, again, our newest appointment to the board by the governor, Somalia Hogan. Those who know small business entrepreneurship here in Springfield and Hampden County, welcome, Somalia. If you want to share a little bit about your background as well, really encouraged. And she is duly sworn in, everyone. That's why you see her and hear her voting tonight. She is a full-fledged member of the Board of Trustees. Somalia.
Thank you, John. Thank you for introduction. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure being here with all of you here today. It's an honor to be appointed to this board. What should I say about me? Let's see. I've been living in the Valley in Western Mass here for 25 years. I came straight from Puerto Rico with my mother and my two siblings. So my mother was a single mom, raised 3 kids, so she's my role model. And I've been working in economic development here in the Valley for 16 years. And my current role is as director of the Western Mass office for the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center. And I'm located right across the street from STCC. I get to go to the college almost every time that I go to my office. And I've toured your facilities many times. One of your professors there, Diane Sabato, I'm a fan of hers. She involves me in a lot of the entrepreneurship programs there. And I look forward to working with all of you.
Great, welcome.
Great. Welcome.
So Somalia has a 2 for everybody. So she not only has a parking pass across the street to the tech park, now as a trustee, she'll get one for this side of the street. So you're going to be in great.
Great.
So again, really excited to have our board filling out and sort of position you for the year ahead. So again, welcome Somalia and Monique. If you would like, I can move forward. You'll see an appointment. Speaking of the Assistance Corporation, the Tech Park, U.S. trustees do appoint a number of the members who sit on that board. What you have in front of you was a recommendation for the appointment of Tim Sneed. We have Russell Denver, everyone, with us in case there are questions. Russell is the chair of the Assistance Corporation Board. But again, happy to defer to you. But I know Tim comes highly recommended. I believe he's a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken, by training. And there's a lot of excitement and encouragement for him joining the Assistance Corporation that way.
Absolutely. Any questions from trustees
Bill
on the
Johnson,
recommendation?
Bill Johnson, I would just like a brief Reader's Digest condensed version of, you know, like John said, he thinks he's an attorney. Is he an attorney? What does he practice? What, you know, like I said, brief, not looking for a full resume here.
Russell, I see you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can do that. So he is currently the executive director of the Bay State Academy Charter School in Springfield. He's been the executive director since 2013. Previously was the executive director of Mass Career Development Institute, which, if some of you have lived in Springfield for a long time, know that it was it was in a failing condition. He brought it back to life and brought integrity and commitment to there. He was previously a second vice president of information systems at Mass Mutual. He was a former controller at Monsanto prior to becoming Solutia. He's a board member of Martin Luther King Charter School, or was a board trustee. He's been on the board of the Partners for Healthier Community. He's a resident of Springfield. He comes very highly recommended from our vice chair, Ellen Fryman, who's an attorney. And also, I hope some of you know Paul Stelzer, who's president of Appleton Corporation. I've known Tim for probably 15 to 20 years, man of high integrity, very smart. We were very, very fortunate that he said yes, that he would want to join our Assistance Corporation.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
I know Russell's an attorney by training. Maybe that's.
I am, and I practice healthcare law. So, yeah.
Much needed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Would someone like to read the motion to approve Timothy Sneed to the STCC Assistance Corporation Board of Directors?
Bill Johnson, I move that the Board of Trustees of Springfield Technical Community College, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 273, Section 125, Acts of 1994, approves the appointment of Timothy Sneed to the Springfield Technical Community College Assistance Corporation Board of Directors for a 3-year term from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2024.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, Nanette, would you please call the roll to accept the motion to approve the appointment of Timothy Sneed to the STCC Assistance Corporation Board of Directors?
Yes. Mary Kate Murin,
Yes.
Janae McDonald, Elizabeth Bosito,
Yes.
Alexander Anderson, Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Vicky Krause,
Yes.
Somalia Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Jeff Sadler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Russell.
Dr. Cook, your perspective.
2 items for trustees this evening. Given the year that we had, we definitely wanted to sort of capture that in a year in review and then map going forward. We will try to be brief at that point. But first things first, we've really worked, I think, to bring some of the more operational instructional examples to your attention. I think it's helped you see how have we navigated functioned this past year. Hopefully, again, we keep it going. I know that we've got a great group for you this evening. I'll turn it over to our Dean for the School of Liberal and Professional Studies, Rick Greco, who will introduce the team. Rick, want to turn it over to you. And again, thrilled that we can talk a little bit more in depth tonight about early childhood education.
Thank you, President Cook. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much for taking the time to learn about our great little program over here. The Early Childhood Education Department at STCC has been around since the late 1960s. It's got a long history being a part of the fabric of our institution, and it speaks really strongly to what our goals are, and that's open access education to all. we firmly believe within the department that great education and educational future really starts from birth. And that's kind of the mission of the department. Prior to the awarding of the Career Pathways grant that we received, the department had slowly kind of fallen into an area of low enrollment. It had become a somewhat of a problem, actually, for the college and our division. And with a little bit of investment and a lot of elbow grease, we've made some really big strides in this area, and it's something that we're really proud of. Nancy Ward will be co-presenting with me today. She is the Career Pathways Grant Coordinator. Amy DeLenta worked with us on this presentation, but much as our early childhood educators do, she's out with a number of children right now, running some activities. So with that being said, I'm gonna let Nancy give you kind of a brief summary of the grant itself as we move forward and walk you through this journey. Nancy.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here with you and to talk a little bit about our grant, which I'm very proud of. We first got this grant in February of 2019, and every year since we've been re-awarded the grant, and we're facing our renewal application once again for fiscal year 22. I've been in the early childhood world of professional development for a long time, and the awarding of this grant to community colleges has been huge. It's a real commitment on the part of the Department of Early Education and Care to really professionalize the field by giving them, coherent and excellent professional development in education. So in the past, the educators were getting across the state really a mixed delivery of education, and it was not coherent at all. So it's really a big commitment on the part of Early Education and Care, and I'm thrilled that it's being so successful. It is funded through state funding, so we do, every year go through that kind of roller coaster, but we've been lucky. And I think especially during the pandemic, everybody has really realized that we need to invest in early education and care. And if you don't invest in the educators, then the outcomes for kids are not gonna be as great. So the goal of the Career Pathways is to increase professionalism in the field. Currently and in the past, all an individual needed was one course in child growth and development to be an assistant teacher. And family child care did not even need that. They needed to meet regulations that their place was safe and that they were going to follow policies, but they didn't need much education. So we know that increased education leads to better outcomes for kids. So the department is really trying to move people forward in their career path by, the more courses they take in various categories, the higher their level. They'll become a teacher, then they can become a lead teacher with more responsibility, higher pay, and then a director if that's what they desire. So that's what this Career Pathways grant helps educators do. We remove a lot of barriers, including financial barriers, which are huge for this group, to help them really, create a ladder of success for them. So I'm the manager of the grant. We have two amazing, okay, you switched the thing on me, so now two amazing student advisors, which is a big part of our grant. They help students really navigate the admissions process, which can be daunting for people that are new to the college world. And so Jennifer Wallace Johnson is our full-time liaison, and she's bilingual, which is a great resource in Spanish. And Lakeisha Coppage joined us this winter, and she's our part-time liaison. Another thing, began the program calling ourselves the Child Development Associate, and we are recently changing that to the Early Childhood Education Certificate because we found that people were a little bit confused. There is a Child Development Associate credential that we also support people in getting. So we wanted to make sure that people knew the difference between the two. We help, the certificate is a 22 credit certificate, and it can be completed within two semesters using the 7-week flex terms. And so these people are working full-time and they're able to still get these credits within a year. We have a high success rate that Rick will talk about a little bit later. And we have a cohort model. We have a Spanish cohort and an English cohort, and it's been shown that learning in a cohort model really does reinforce the educational experience. So we try, even during virtual learning, to really keep groups together and have them progress through the certificate program together. We also offer single free courses. So there are some people that just need like one course in infant toddler development to be an infant toddler, lead teacher type of thing. So we also offer a variety of single offerings. I think that's it. Yeah.
So one of the things that we really wanted to focus on with this grant is some innovative approaches. With grants, oftentimes we like to think of them as like mini experiments where we can look at different initiatives, pilot it in a small group, and see if that's something we can scale up across the institution. What can we learn as STCC from early childhood ed or this small group? And one of the big takeaways from this was the importance of what we call our student liaison. These are advisors that start with students from the moment that we get their names from marketing. So a student will fill out a form with their name and address, and bam, they reach out, they contact them, they help them get their high school transcripts, they work with them through the FAFSA. They are able to stop any barriers that might get in their way. Something as small as not being able to get your stick email address is enough to make a hesitant student say, I'm not coming. So these are the shepherds. These are our mama bears, if you will. But they bring the students through. They are a one-stop shop. And we find that with a boutique program like this is something that's really important, to the point where we're starting to look at expanding this into potentially some of the manufacturing programs in STEM, where we can get people in through those doors. Specifically because early childhood ed is generally an older population. They're generally a more marginalized group, and they generally are full-time, working full-time. So this is very helpful. We started kind of with this a stick en español type bit. We have our first Spanish-speaking cohort where they can take all of their early childhood ed classes in native tongue in Spanish, which has removed a great number of barriers for students. That first group is making it through right now. I believe we have 12 that are coming out of a group that started at 14. So with great success, it's something that we're able to look at and start offering a general psychology course or an intro to sociology course taught in Spanish language. 7-week terms for working adults are huge. We're actually moving our social work program into the same model that early childhood has done, because we've seen that when we group them together, when we give them only 2 or 3 courses at a time, they're much more successful than they are when we give them 5 courses over 15 weeks. With this, we've really looked at online hybrid and getting in some technology tools. So for example, we have earbuds that translate language. We've bought smart boards that students can annotate on in classwork. Some really, really great things. And then again, breaking down barriers. We learned that it was really difficult for our students to fill out applications for their non-matriculating through this grant. So we revitalized that process. We changed the way that it looked. So a lot of things that were learned and that we get to take back and put into other programs. Next slide. So with the establishment of this grant and what we've done, here are the course enrollments by credit within the early childhood ed department from 2015 forward. So as you can see with the grant, we doubled our highest year, 2015, 2016, in those enrollments. A lot of people will say it's because some of the classes are free. And that is true, absolutely. The cohorts come in with, there's no tuition for those students. We do offer some free courses. But when you control for that and you back that out, those number of credits, we're still at about 1,500 paid credits. So we've really increased the enrollments in this program while other programs across the college in the last few years have declined. And a lot of that, I think, is because of the things that we've done for retention, a lot of the things that we've done in terms of community outreach. Next slide. Here you can look across and you'll see the 3 programs that fall within early childhood ed. The enrollments are their top number, the completion is the bottom number. What I just would like to highlight here is the greatest number of completions that we had prior to the start of this grant was in 2017 with 17 associate degrees awarded. This past year we awarded 60. So from 17 being the largest to 60 degrees, it's really made a substantial difference by offering the certificate. And the certificate stacks directly into the associate's program, which then stacks into the mass transfer to the bachelor's. So we're moving students through. That's 60 educators that are coming out of STIC better prepared with high education that are able to teach the next generation of children. Next slide. One of the things that we like to say is we're trying to put the serving in Hispanic serving institution. When we do a breakdown of the 60 degrees that were awarded this past year, 45% of those landed on students that self-identify as Hispanic. That's a huge number for us, huge number. And that's great for our community as a whole. A lot of these educators are going out, they're bilingual, they speak English, they speak Spanish, they're educating students in multiple languages. It really speaks to, I think, what it is that we do. We found ways to break down barriers for our Hispanic students who traditionally don't complete at the same rate as their white counterparts. So we're able to provide additional supports, remove barriers for these students. Additionally, as if you look over to the right, you'll see these are the degrees conferred. The orange is Hispanic students and the red is white students. And you'll see that the spike is pretty tremendous. We credit this to a lot of the work that we've done. Next slide. Some of the college-wide improvements that have resulted from the funds that are associated with this grant. One of those is Blackboard Ally. Blackboard Ally is an add-on component to the Blackboard learning management system that students use for online learning and to supplement on-ground learning. Blackboard Ally is all about accessibility, allowing students to choose different formats for the documents that their instructors put up. So for example, if somebody puts something up in PDF and a screen reader struggles to read that, they can translate that into a Word document that a screen reader can do. Can also translate documents into one of 46 languages. But the big thing is it makes things accessible for more students, and not just early childhood ed students. This has been released across the campus with a price tag of $30,000 for 3 years. So it's something that the grant was able to support. Modern Learning Lab, we built a lab in Building 13 that was ailing, if you will, and it's some really past dated technology. We were able to update that with new computers. Additionally, there are 4 Samsung interactive boards that students can work on doing group work. We were able to purchase Chromebooks and hotspots, which became really important during the pandemic. Nancy, you want to take over on the next part?
Yeah, we were really excited to be able to, we contracted with a translation service and we translated a number of documents into Spanish. That's one of the things we realized, that so many of the things that people take for granted were not in Spanish. So the student handbook, the student teaching handbook, a lot of the admissions documents, the health requirements that students need are now available in Spanish. The website is very good in terms of being able to, a lot of things are translatable into Spanish, but not all. So we looked at the ones that weren't, and we translated those. So we're really excited about that. The other thing we translated was the online learning orientation, because that was only in English. So not only is this person coming into college for the first time, but they had to learn, had to navigate this online learning orientation in English. So now they have that in Spanish. So we're excited about that. The translation earbuds Rick talked about a little bit. They are this amazing tool where the wearer gets to hear their native language, no matter what the spoken language is. And we're really excited to try those out. And the online course development is another way that we've been able to use funding to stipend faculty to develop an introduction to early childhood education course completely online. And the faculty is working as a team. They're each doing a chapter or two. And this, even though our program provides free textbooks when we can, the online, that's a barrier if you can't get to campus to come and get a textbook. So the online learning resources are just another way that we're making it easier for students to access materials right away, and in a format that's motivational to them. Their own faculty has written these, so we're excited about that.
Essentially, the faculty wrote a textbook this year for a course that didn't have an open ed resource that can now be used across the country.
Yeah. We will also share this with the rest of the state as well, with the other community colleges. Are there questions for us? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were at the end. We're not.
One last one. Just wanted to hit up the future, where we see our future as being our partnerships. Janae isn't on today, but Janae working with SEIU, we've reached out and we've formed a partnership with them, Square One and Head Start. We've extended those partnerships beyond just early childhood ed. With Square One, we're now working on with a group of people that are working in social work, getting them through our social work program at STCC. Building Bridges was a large, it was a 600-person professional development conference that was held that we were able to present at. And we're looking to potentially be able to host that at some point in the near future. We've hired adjunct instructors that are directors for the Boys and Girls Club, YMCA. Those connections and bringing them aboard as faculty really cement ourselves in the community. Some of the other just quick things, a focus on finish line students. There's a number of students that have had single offering courses that they've picked up in early childhood ed across the state that never led to a credential. We're bringing them in at STIC, honoring those courses, and bringing them into our cohorts. So just some of the highlights.
Hey, Richard, just a quick question. Thank you so much first for the incredible presentation. And I love that we've got a lot more students going through the program certificate. Have you been tracking as the years go on, then, where they're going from a career perspective, just to, put in some light to what STIC has been, kind of doing from a certificate and for the 2-year programs?
Sure. So we actually report that back with the grant, some of the data each time that we report. Nancy, you want to shine some light on that?
Well, it's a little tricky to track because once the student gets their certificate, they have to apply to the state. And so there can be a gap between, when the student leaves us and then they're actually getting their certification. So what we've been doing is communicating with the state and telling them our students, and then they let us know the credentials that those students have earned, and they've, it's considerable. And they do commit to staying in the field for a year when they do get into this program. So yeah, we are going to continually survey them and ask them, did this lead to your credential? And we do know as well that a lot of our students are, they continue on into the associate's program, and one actually just, or two just entered a bachelor's program. So they are moving along the career path to higher degrees. So. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Can I just ask a question? Does the grant cover our costs for the program?
It does. The students do need to apply for a Pell Grant, and anything that's not covered by the, by free aid is covered by us. They're also encouraged to apply for the ECE scholarship, which is amazing. It's an amazing scholarship fund. It's up to $250 a credit for 11 credits per semester. So a lot of students get supported through that. There's no income limit on that. So we really encourage students to also apply for that, and they can use that going forward in their associates and bachelor's degrees as well.
Nancy, let me jump in. I see Rick going for the mic too. I think to the question from Trustee Krause, it helps the student side, Vicki, but it doesn't cover our administrator or operational costs to the maximum. Rick, do I have that right?
So the way that we actually run it is the grant is charged per credit, just like a regular student with the grant funds. So for every credit that a student comes in, the grant purchases that credit.
So it's essentially for trustees to consider. It's a subsidy, but it's not true underwriting of our costs. So obviously it has helped us from an enrollment standpoint, and it's good to see a program like this bump up to plus 50 students. But I dare say that we still could sort of revisit this in our model to show that it net loses money, if you will, because what we need from a tuition fee standpoint to cover employee salaries is the hardest thing to overcome.
Thank you.
That's gonna be my question as well. So I'll just say, thanks for the good presentation and love the energy you guys both brought to this. Thank you.
Welcome.
To our talented presenters, to our dean, to Nancy Ward, thank you. I know the great work. Let me share just small editorial, trustees. What you did not hear once during the whole presentation was the term daycare. And what I would offer is truly, this field has grown in leaps and bounds, and it has really changed. There's still a lot of myths around daycare. It is truly early childhood education. There is a real movement to professionalize, and you clearly see the Commonwealth of Massachusetts investing. I mean, there have been, I think, over $1 million that have come our way to help professionalize those individuals already working in this field. It may not translate just yet into a dollar amount that they earn in those roles as assistant teachers or teachers, but it is a work in progress. And what you can take away is STCC is right in there doing this training in this particular area. And again, I think that speaks to our mission as a college.
Great. Thank you. Dr. Cook, I think we're transitioning into your perspective.
Great. Again, thank you so much, Nancy and Rick. Appreciate it. So it says president's perspective, but I'm here with cabinet, and I think it's going to be valuable for trustees to also hear their voices as part of the presentation. We're going to go through this briefly, everyone. Again, it just felt such like a momentous year that it would be valuable to take a little stock about what we've done this year, and then how do we look ahead so that we are truly launched and in position when we come back in late August, early September with all of you, and maybe, just maybe, might even be able to meet in person. We'll see, right? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. By context on that second slide, some of this is also for later on when you'll talk about the presidential evaluation in the 5-year review. I wanted to give a little context for where we've come over the last 5 years. Things like planning and forecasting really have changed dramatically in the last 5 years. I point to even that middle bullet there of a campus master plan. We actually hadn't had a campus master plan formally in place since 2011. And the fact that trustees endorsed that plan in 2018, I think, has been really, really fortuitous for us. It certainly helped with things like accreditation, but it also gives us a roadmap going forward. Things like reorganization, you heard, I think 2 meetings ago from our Center for Digital Learning, Center for Online and Digital Learning, CODL, That did not exist 5 years ago with the kind of instructional support that we have. So those kinds of reorganizations and changes have been tremendous. We also didn't have a CIO position 5 years ago. We now have that, which has been tremendous. Mary Kozlowskis has done tremendous work for us in her 9 months and counting here. Equity also connected to our mission. Yes, we have an equity audit underway, which is imperative, but even early college commerce. I put in your packet there the official designation that just came through from Massachusetts. Here's what's amazing about our work is we didn't need that designation to still have put in place with the high school across the street, 20 credits for high school students there. And by the way, that high school is 90% of color. So we've been doing that work all along. Yes, it was nice to get that official designation because it really gives Commerce a chance to offset some of their costs because they are paying us half tuition fees for those, which is highly unusual type of a setup here in Massachusetts. So again, just a few areas to help point out for where we were and where we've been and where we are now. As we turn our attention, let me draw in for a little perspective on clearly the global pandemic over the last year, our Assistant Vice President of Human Resources, Casey Senni. We'll take the next slide too, thanks.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I would just like to highlight 3 points about how we navigated, which is a great word, this past academic year. It began with stick closing or turning remote last March 2020. And over the summer of 2020, we created the Campus Repopulation Work Group. And what they did is they helped us design campus protocols, COVID-19 safety protocols. And they met consistently from June 2020 through today. They are constantly meeting weekly to look at what kind of protocols we have and just most recently how we can lift some of those protocols. But among them they included were a campus access list, campus safety guidelines and attestation form that was on the website, a healthy roster texting protocol, check-in stations, the stick squad. We had campus access sheets, healthy rosters and temperature checks, a daily questionnaire, and wristbands for admissions and to campus. And those were different colors every day. We had mandatory mask wearing and social distancing and enhanced cleaning protocols by the facility department. One of the things we did in fall is we began COVID testing, and that was free for our students. And over the course of the academic year, we offered 3,405 tests, COVID tests, and of those, 19 were positive. Our health students had to have those tests in order to participate in the clinicals. And we averaged about 428 tests per week in order for our health students to participate in their clinicals. And most recently, we've brought on COVID vaccine and with the Curative Corporation, and we are delighted. We will be offering them 1 day a week on Thursdays, and we started last week, and we expect to continue through July, and depending on demand, we'll see whether or not we need to continue through August. And we're focused, of course, most readily on our student population, but also their families, as well as faculty and staff and the greater Springfield community. So this is what we've done. This is how we navigated COVID, and I think we did pretty well.
Thank you, Casey. You'll see on the thank you there, we have the coronavirus web link is still up, vibrant, and is a key source of information, has been for the better part of 15 months. And we will certainly keep that going. Thank you, Casey. Take the next slide. You know, sort of eye on the prize, graduation really still is that key goal for us, completion. And that mission of completion is vital. And I'll turn it to our Vice President of Student Affairs, Darcy Kemp, to share a little bit more about how we have helped persevere.
Yeah, so slides 4 and 5 really do highlight key data and outcomes related to perseverance. And again, our ultimate goal for students, which is graduation. We look at enrollment reports and data on a daily basis, and it provides a foundation for us to develop and implement proactive strategies and targeted outreach campaigns in order to ensure that our students are continuing to move towards that goal of graduation. And one example of a practice change that highlights that sort of high touch strategy is when we outreach to what we call our returning not registered students. Just over a year ago, we would pull lists of students who were not registered, who had been registered in that semester, but weren't registered for the upcoming semester. And we would send them an email and try to reach them by phone and try to get them registered for the upcoming semester. We now pull 5 semesters worth of returning not registered students for our call and email campaign. So we are targeting a larger group of students in the hope that they will return, register for classes, and persist towards graduation. And another practice change is that advisors now get a daily report of their advisees who have registered each day. So advisors can then go take a look at the courses that the students have registered for and reach out to them if any changes are needed or recommended. And again, with graduation remaining the goal, in the next slide, we're going to hear from a recent graduate, Cindy Ho, about her experience as a STIC student.
Thank you, Darcy. In this slide, trustees, again, I won't belabor it, but you'll see the single largest group of students that we graduate every year is actually in general studies. I think that's a surprise sometimes to people, but what it really points to is the comprehensiveness of our institution. Yes, we are a technical community college, and you see we've highlighted some of our STEM graduates and our health graduates. But this is the place, because it's the most affordable and most accessible, is where students come as their starting point. And then they'll often transfer, often to Westfield State, often to UMass. And that's as part and as important of our mission and frankly of our sustainability as anything, keeping general studies in there. I see our school dean, Rick Greco, again, nodding his head because he's done a lot of work to also peel that apart a little bit and give some different pathways and concentrations within there to better actually help students stay with us longer. Thank you, Darcy. Moving forward, as if COVID and perseverance weren't mission critical year in and year out, throw in on top of that, well, something that only happens every 10 years on top of all of it. And so accreditation, NECHI, I think is a term all of our trustees has come to appreciate. Let me turn to our Vice President of Academic Affairs, Sheldon de Burleigh, to share a little bit more about this.
So of course, the trustees were kept abreast of the progress in that as we were undergoing the self-study, and of course, we're brought into it, particularly for governance, et cetera. But the standards basically establish criteria to ensure institutional quality, currency with respect to federal requirements and changing circumstances in higher education and public expectation. Furthermore, also looking to ensure that we are working towards improving quality, increasing effectiveness, and striving towards excellence. A particular highlight of our work is the change that we saw in how we do planning. In addition to the Student Success Plan, which was accepted by the Department of Higher Education as our strategic plan from 2015 to 2020, which was now extended until we produce a new plan, various plans have been generated. The 2015 Master Campus Plan, to which an addendum was generated in 2018, the Facilities Capital Plan, a Technology Plan, an Academic Plan, a Program Review Plan, a Marketing Plan. These were all essential resources in the generation of the self-study report. And these were not in place 10 years ago. And in some cases, well, except for the Student Success Plan, 5 years ago. So there's been a lot of change in how we do planning for the institution.
Thank you, Jerry. So to wrap up the year before we start to look ahead, for those of you who've had a chance to watch the commencement video, again, cheers and appreciation to our marketing communications team. I know Keith Paul and John Reynolds have done a lot of work behind the scenes. We've got Cindy Ho, who is, first of all, she was our student commencement speaker if you watched her. She also is a graduate of this class. But here she is, and we're just going to spend 3 minutes, if you don't mind, listening to her talk about her experience here at the college. Pretty powerful. You can also find this on YouTube. I think we got to change this.
I'm actually a native from Western Mass. I grew up right here in Springfield. I went to Central High School and I graduated back in 2019. Choosing STIC was actually like a really big surprise to a lot of people, including myself. It wasn't where I was planning to go necessarily, but I'm actually really happy that I went to STIC. I ended up choosing it because like of its affordability and it's really local. So I'm currently a communications and digital media transfer at STIC. After this semester, I'll be transferring to the UMass Amherst Honors College. So that's where I'm planning to get my communications degree. I've always been interested in communications from a really young age. Like I originally wanted to be a meteorologist and I transitioned into wanting to be a journalist in high school. So I already knew like right off the bat that communication is what I want to do. I love public speaking in general. I took a public speaking course at STIC and I'm obsessed with it. But at STIC, I actually realized that I didn't want to be a journalist anymore. I actually wanted to be a filmmaker. Now that I'm on my final semester, I definitely met a lot of creative people. Before, I was like the only person I knew, especially at my high school, that was interested in what I was interested in. So it was kind of hard for me to relate to anyone else since like all my friends went into like engineering in the med field. So I was kind of like the black sheep, the outsider. So coming into STIC, part of this community of like-minded people, it was really new and refreshing for myself. Another highlight has to be the faculty. I've been really lucky to have amazing professors at all 4 of my semesters, like such as John Wakeland, Lowell Donahue, Sandra Perrone. Like those were amazing professors I highly recommended to anyone coming to STIC. And student government has been the definite big highlight of my experience here at STIC. I met a lot of student leaders such as myself, and it was a really great community. Like we're basically a family now. So I did the Commonwealth Commitment as well as the Mass Transfer Program. At the end, by the time I get my bachelor's degree, I should be saving around 45% on my bachelor's degree, which is a huge amount of money. If I went straight to UMass Amherst, I would have probably spent around $66,000 roughly on my bachelor's degree. But since I went to STIC, I'll be only spending roughly $33,000 for my entire education for my bachelor's degree. So that's a really huge saving. Having my mom be an alumni from STIC actually really helped my decision to go to STIC, since she was really advocating that it's a good school and that she recommends it, especially if I want to do something more affordable the first 2 years. So after I kind of heard that, it kind of eased my worries and whatnot about STIC. I definitely recommend the honors program to anyone who's academically driven, who wants to be surrounded by people who are also driven. Like if you really want to challenge yourself, like the honors program is definitely the place to be. Like I'm currently taking a course, Psychology of Love, that's ran by Professor Brown, and it has forced me to do so much critical thinking. It's definitely helped my writing skills, and just I love the course. It's a very, very popular course at STIC, and everyone who's taken it, I've heard so many great things about it, and I definitely love it myself. I know that there is this stigma around community college that only people who aren't successful go there, people who are lazy and whatnot, but that is far, far from the truth. I've met so many phenomenal, brilliant people here on campus of all ages, and this campus is so diverse. It's great walking around and seeing so many different faces and knowing that, hey, like we're all in this together. We're all here from the same reasons. It's a really great community here, and despite anything negative you heard, it's probably not true at all, because I've had a wonderful experience at STIC, and I bet you will as well.
I can see the smiles. I mean, there's nothing quite like the student voice, everyone, right? That's what's so painful about wait till we can get back to graduation ceremonies in the Mass Mutual Center with all that sort of outpouring. Cindy clearly is an incredibly articulate voice for our students and for her experience here. I think about the value that she articulates, the excellence she experienced, the faculty talent, her own student voice, even a chance to talk about a program that is not always in the rotation, digital media, and certainly the diversity and the strength it provides for our college. So again, take to heart, Cindy certainly sort of hits that mark for us in terms of what we are as a college and how well that helps us now as we then look ahead. And so again, we'll talk a little bit now about mapping the college forward and let that resonate, let that carry with us. What I've got is just a few sort of points of note. It's really our next strategic plan that I think will help encapsulate how we actually in fact move forward, how we build this out. We know we want to discuss and focus on sustainability. We're going to talk about decision making, and that is sort of another way to talk about governance. Certainly capital needs and then opportunities. So really that kind of helps summarize how we look forward as a college, because we know we are needed. We know that value proposition is very real. On the next two slides, let me call forward our CFO, Andrew Nathanson, who's going to talk a little bit about a couple of these different areas. So we'll take the next slide.
So when we think about sustainability, one of the key elements really is enrollment. And this slide, many of us have seen this slide before, really showing the steady decline in enrollment over the last 8 to 9 years. And when I look at this, what I'm really thinking about is not so much what's on the slide, but what's not on the slide. You know, what's going to happen in the years beyond what we're seeing here. And, you know, even if we sort of pull out the larger declines from the last couple of years, you know, or in the next year and this past year related to COVID, you know, if enrollment continues to decline, we really have to think about, like, what will the sustainability strategies be? What will be the financial impact of the enrollment changes? And, you know, how will we deal with that? If we go to the next slide, please. This is taking a look at our FY22 budget and the various components of revenue and expense in the budget. And really what this is illustrating is that without the federal COVID funding, we would be looking at a baseline budget of with a deficit of about $5.1 million. And so, you know, our focus over the next couple of years is really going to be to develop sustainability strategies that close that gap between revenue and expense, and really match the resources and the spending with, you know, the things that will have the biggest impact on students and the sort of matching supply and demand, really. So, you know, that's really the future focus here is those sustainability strategies.
I'm gonna give again our CIO Mary Kozlowskis a chance to just get a small word in here. You know, when we talk about capital planning and investment, IT has really been critical, and I just wanted to give Mary a chance to sound that out as we think going forward how we also continue to invest in that. Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. So you know, the IT master plan is really our roadmap, and you know, aligns with the IT 5-year capital plan. And so we're looking really for a commitment to sustain and grow the IT infrastructure and systems to support the institution. You know, we have a large backlog of end-of-life warranty replacements. And historically, you know, that was, they were replaced in an ad hoc way and funded through contingency and reserves, and not the annual capital planning process. So we're really looking to kind of shore up our systems, and security is a big concern for us. And so, you know, also avoiding outages that impact operations. We've really spent a lot of time in just the last year, just, you know, with the online, switch to online and remote workforce. And that has brought, you know, security to the forefront. Everyone hears in the news about things that are happening, and we're no different. So I think that for us, it's just really kind of keeping up to date on our systems and making sure that we're doing the best for our students in the institution.
Thank you, Mary. Last slide, and then we'll talk a little bit more about specific opportunities. I know we talk a lot about Building 20, everyone. Thank you, because if we can work with one another to not let fatigue set in or sort of wherewithal flag, this really, again, we know through planning and necessity that really relocating that School of Health and Patient Simulation is just so critical and vital. Here's your timetable. My letter to the Secretary of Education now is 4 years old. And I realize we've been talking about this, a major capital project, especially when you need help from Massachusetts, when you need help from DCAM, it takes a long, long time. But we only have a certain window when it comes to the ability to get across the street to the tech park. The vacant spaces that they have right now have about a 12-month window on them before they're going to have already turned the page and look elsewhere for a tenant. So that really is, especially after many studies that have been taking place, as you see, for multiple years here, there's not great on-campus solutions. Those are all very, very costly as we try to retrofit some of these old antique buildings. So we just know, as part of our look ahead, that the capital need, particularly with Building 20, is right there, and it's a real imperative for us. So we're going to keep after it. We're going to need your help as a board. There just is no doubt about that. On the last slide I'll take, again, this team right here that you have of senior administrators, we have really taken that look and are already being proactive with the way forward. As Casey Senni mentioned, we are actively working to repopulate campus, to reactivate on-campus operations. We know we have a plan for instruction as well. Here's 10, and we won't go through all of these, but these are just 10, so you know, areas of opportunity for us to increase, strategize with partnerships, and otherwise take actions to help us be opportunistic in the ways going forward. We know status quo is not going to work. We know we have to lean on our values and some of our sort of key, if you will, structures and resources, meaning some of these STEM programs, these health programs, things like that. But again, here's a list. We're going to be talking much more. We'll talk with trustees at the retreat in the fall about where things stand. But we know there definitely, as a technical community colleges, are places we can continue to augment, enhance, and otherwise grow and evolve ourselves. Let me give the last word again to our Chief Academic Officer. Let me have Jerry sum things up for us.
So I think in the end, as we've talked about all the things we discussed, but in particular, I think it's important just to be thinking that all the work that's been done on the NETCHI self-study, as we await the report from the site team, along with the multiple plans which were enumerated earlier, that will inform us in developing integrated strategies as we generate the institutional strategic plan over the next year. And that's an essential function of what we'll be doing.
Thank you, Jerry. That integration is what I leave trustees with, is that need to be together like that. And again, I'm thankful of our team here helping me co-present that. You've heard their voices. There's others that we will continue to work in. But again, thank you. Happy to take any questions, but Madam Chair, that's President's perspective.
Any questions from the trustees? We just want to thank Dr. Cook and everyone who presented. Really important work. We have, I think we've all gone through kind of a hard 14 months plus, right, with these unprecedented times. And appreciate you kind of keeping the pedal to the metal and continuing to get the community college to be, as we are really celebrate number 4. And so there's a lot of work to do moving forward. And to that end, just want to transition a little bit into old business. The last time we spoke at a last meeting, we knew that through NETCHI, we had to do a the 5-year assessment of the president. And so with the help of Nanette and our CFO, Andrea, we have been talking to the Association of Community College Trustees, ACCT. They're an organization out of DC who has really done a lot of even board assessments. They've done president assessments. And it is my intent to really form an ad hoc committee. And that will be from the executive team members, which would be myself, Trustee McDonald, and Trustee Sposito, to engage and work with the Association of Community College Trustees to set up the presidential review, not only for this year, but to do the 5-year presidential evaluation. My initial thoughts is to do basically 2 or 3 siloed, is to first have individual meetings with every trustee. So we would have the individual who is in charge, and Colleen Allen is the director of retreat and evaluation services for ACCT, to schedule an individual hour, 45-minute meeting with all the boards to talk about Dr. Cook, to get that evaluation, and then to do a modified 180. And what this is, everybody, I think some of you might have heard about a 360, and that is where you have everybody in the organization basically review the person that you want. This would be a 180 where we would pull faculty, staff, cabinet members, the board, and there'd be an instrument that would be sent out to those who were basically identified to provide an assessment of Dr. Cook. And we are looking close to maybe 35 to 40 questions with open-ended questions. So it is my intent to add and to form this ad hoc. We'd have a very short meeting in July. Nanette would put that together. It would be an open meeting, as we are required to do that. And this would be a process, everybody, over the next couple of months. I have already been in touch with Commissioner Santiago. He has extended our ability for a deadline to evaluate the president, just like he has for everyone. All of the trustees and the boards need a little bit more time, given what has happened in the past year. So the intent to really high level everybody, and more information will be forthcoming, is in the next month or so for you to have an individual meeting with Colleen Allen. Then we would work on the instrument tool that would be sent out to the group of individuals. And we're thinking about 75-ish people would also have the opportunity to provide an evaluation of Dr. Cook, and then give us time to put that report together that we would have at the board retreat on September 24th. And that would be the first meeting of our next school year. So lots and lots of information there. So I just wanted to pause just for a moment and get some initial thoughts and feelings on what the intent is moving forward.
Just a question. So just to clarify, there would be some involvement. I think we've talked about this in years past from the students and faculty in this
Absolutely.
process. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I think, Vicki, what we would try to do is come up with a list of faculty, staff, non-represented cabinet students who would receive the link that would be part of the presidential evaluation.
Thank you.
Is that just, if I know that we tend not to have meetings, but with board members, is that something that you would be okay about, taking a 30, 45-minute call on your schedule in the next month and a half to schedule with Colleen Allen from ACCT to have those conversations for the evaluation?
This is Bill Johnson. I apologize. I have one question as it relates to, I understand being an inclusive, but I guess my question is, you're going to be interviewing students as per Dr. Cook's job and the faculty, but I would say probably maybe one or two students deal with Dr. Cook probably on a one-on-one or ever have a meeting with them. And I doubt that all the faculty has meetings with Dr. Cook and deals with them on a full-time basis. I would think that how is that going to be weighted when we take people that don't even deal? I mean, I have a hard enough time as a trustee keeping track of everything that goes on at the college and following all the decisions. How are we going to weight it when we start asking students, and how management, or for that matter, even a lot of the faculty, I don't quite understand how that process is going to work or how it can be weighted.
Yeah, just a point of clarity. The interviews, the one-on-one interviews would only be with the board members.
Correct. I understand that. You said there would be some input.
No, there would be a instrument, basically a survey tool that is put out, and we would identify students, faculty, staff, non-represented cabinet who do work with Dr. Cook.
Okay.
And to your point is that, a student who has never had any interaction with Dr. Cook wouldn't be sent the link. It would be those who work directly and have experiences with Dr. Cook who would be sent the link to provide their assessment and evaluation of performance over the last year.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Mac, I thought you had a question.
Yes, Madam Chair, I was just going to say that I'm totally comfortable with setting aside time for the interview. So I'm totally fine with the process. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I think Nanette, and I know Janae is not on today, is that we'll work with Janae and Betty to form that meeting probably in 2 weeks to announce this publicly from, because we have to do that as we put the executive team together for the ad hoc. And then I can share a little bit from that timeline. Andrew is working diligently, and thank you so much, Andrea, for all the hard work in getting this together for us. And the great news too, everybody, is there is an opportunity for us to even do a board assessment. As part of Nietzsche, you remember, we also committed to that. We thought it would be prudent, Janae and I, to really concentrate on the president's first priority, and then transition into the board assessment. If that's okay with everybody, because I think that just kind of set a baseline, which we've never done, to my knowledge, unless someone has been part of a board assessment prior to me joining the board.
Madam Chair, I just want to let you know that I'm also quite comfortable with the planning that you've laid out in terms of the approach of this. And I also wanted to ask you, in terms of the commission that you've tapped into in DC as sort of a template that we're using, I was wondering if maybe there is something there that goes to the question that Bill was asking about. Folks that may not be have direct report or interaction with the president, but how does that template deal with those questions?
Yeah, so the template that comes out is basically the tool is broken up into subcategories. We thought it was really important to put advocacy, financial oversight, direction. I don't specifically have that in front of me, and let me pull it really quickly. But the idea would be for us to come up with the list of individuals who would receive the instrument. And so they would be able to answer the questions moving forward. Let me just pull this really, really quickly. And so some of the categories that we had really kind of talked about were the policy roles, board and governing functions, and things of that nature, advocacy, financial literacy, as I talked to earlier. So Trustee Lindsay, only those who have had direct relationships in a working environment with the president would be sent the link, if that helps. And I think it's important. I'll also, Nanette, can you also send really quickly the link to ACCT so the board members can take a look at that? I think it's .org. But
Yes,
let me
I'll
just
send it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then everyone can go on. We will have a membership with the association also, and they have incredible seminars. They have best practices and things that we'll be able to pull as a member. So I think and we have that membership throughout the entire year. So I think there's wonderful opportunities to really take advantage of an environment that's going to help the college too, and from the board perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So really, really appreciate it, everyone. I think we will, the next couple of weeks, you'll start to see that we will have this open meeting in which we can get together and make sure we can launch this successfully over the summer so we can be ready for September, because I know how quickly the summer goes. There's a lot of work to do, and we will wait for faculty and staff to get back onto campus before we launch the link. So we can make sure that we get full participation from everyone. Perfect. I think Dr. Cook, you had one more thing before I jump into my just kind of final remarks.
Under old business, but a new participant. You may have seen on your screen somewhere, Dr. Shay Butler. She's our interim vice president of advancement and external affairs. I know Shay had a chance to be introduced at Ways and Means. I wanted to make sure I do well with the full board. It's been great to have Shay in there. She started first week of June. I don't know if it feels like she's been here 6 months already, but it's been great to have her in the mix. you'll be hearing from her certainly as we tuck into the year down the road. So welcome, Shay. I'm glad to have you meet our Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cook. And just to end the meeting, everyone, just quickly, you know, Dr. Cook and the administration did go through, and we have the unfortunate news that we were not awarded DCAM money to help with Building 20. I cannot stress enough that as board members, this will be a high priority for me. And it will be for the agenda for us to make some very hard decisions of what we're going to do with Building 20. And because it has an adverse effect on a lot of our programming. And I think to everyone's point, and you made it very clear, Andrea, you're not just looking at next year, you're looking at 3, 5, 7, 10 years down the road from a financial a stability perspective of the college. And with that comes the great things that we do as a community college and being a technical college. You know, this readiness study, you did see that on the slide. It's taking too long for a solution. We know how long things take with the state, and that's unfortunate. And Jeff, again, thank you for your ability to jump in and take a look at this. Really do appreciate your time and effort. And if we do miss people the window of the tech park, we'll have to make harder decisions of where we're going to be putting this programming. So I think not only will one of the major agenda items be the 5-year and 1 year of Dr. Cook evaluation, but where as a board, what decisions are we making in the future that's going to set us up for success? So really, really important, everyone, that we start thinking about that. Be ready to make some spending decisions. Trustee Starks will, of course, have to go to you and your committee to make some decisions that are going to put this college where it needs to be in the lead of community colleges throughout the country. And I hope everyone has that same feeling I do. That's why we give up of our time to continue to do this. So with that, I want to thank everyone for a really, you know, I guess what the adjective interesting year. I know everyone uses unprecedented, but I think that we all were really doing our jobs. So thank you, Dr. Cook, the administration, the faculty, the staff, the unrepresented, and most important, our students who were able to get through this hard 12 to 14 months. There's something special about a college campus and the young people that we choose to be involved with. And I had that really privilege to be at the University of Connecticut and be there for 14 years. And that's why I do this, because it is special. There's something special about students. And I think that's why we all do it. And I want to personally thank everyone on this phone call. I want to thank the board. We never have any challenges with quorums, and I thank you for that. Because it's not what I hear from other community colleges. And I want to thank everyone who gives up of their personal time to be representative of STIC. Please have a wonderful holiday, and that's coming up, right? 4th of July, but please be safe and have wonderful summers, everyone. And I thank you for everything. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the regular meeting of Monday, June 28th, 2021?
Bill Johnson, motion to adjourn.
Here a second?
Second. Stark, second.
We had too many, Nanette, say seconds. Could you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mary Kate Buren,
Yes.
Janae McDonald, Elizabeth Esposito, Alexander Anderson, Maurice Lindsay,
Yes.
Vicky Krause,
Yes.
Somalia Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
Jeff Sattler,
Yes.
and Max Starks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
everyone.
Have a great summer, but be safe.